Film Club.
Do you know why I've asked you here today? 2 men enter, 1 leaves.
Mate,
Welcome to Thunderdome!
If we had a fight, I'd win.
Thank you very much for joining this episode of Film Club. I am one your host, Andy Harrison. To my right, as always, it's the winner himself, Andy Dalton. How are you doing today, Andy?
Yes, I feel like that's a weird question. How am I? How are you?
We are continuing our Mad Max trilogy here in Film Club, where every week we invite the guys at home along, we watch a film together, we come back here, we talk about it. We are 3 deep now into the Mad Max franchise.
Yep.
Beyond Thunderdome.
Beyond Thunderdome.
How are you feeling about Beyond Thunderdome? Give the nice people at home a little bit of a rundown.
Max appears again, this time in a city. No, he's on a little caravan. Gets taken over by some plane guy. Then the plane guy, then he's like, oh shit. So he follows it back to the city. The city is like run by an underground and overground. The overground is by some woman portrayed by Tina Turner.
Called Auntie.
Auntie. And then downstairs by some like kind of small guy. And
Called Master.
And then his little friend that is like his caravan, his piggyback guy.
Called Blaster.
Blaster, yeah. They have a little feud between us. He strikes a deal with Auntie to kill Master and Blaster because it's upsetting her way of ruling the kingdom because Master Blaster is in charge of
just
the actual...
Blaster. The deal is to kill Blaster.
Is it just Blaster? Sorry.
Because they need Master to run the methane plant.
So with Blaster, Master is very... Master is very...
Master Blaster.
Is very... he has a lot of authority because Blaster is his kind of like his...
His muscle.
His muscle, that's the word I was looking for, thank you. Anyway, so Max goes in the Thunderdome, they have a fight, he realises he sounds good against Blaster, he knocks his head off and he finds that Blaster's like, kind of like mentally challenged sort of thing.
Yep.
He's like a little child inside an adult body and Master comes over and he's just like, no, you can see he's a kid. Auntie goes, I'll fucking kill him anyway, and then Max goes, not part of the deal, and walks out, and then she's like, you broke off a deal, therefore you have to face the wheel puts him into a desert, in the desert he has to walk away. And just basically walk away with no water, and he kind of collapses.
He gets ridden away on a horse with a ridiculous helmet.
Yep. And then, I don't know, it reminds me of Frank.
Yeah, Frank Sidebottom.
Yeah, Frank Sidebottom. Anyway, some woman finds him, goes into a little grove of kids who are like weirdly, what's the word I was looking for? Begins with P.
Personified.
No, it's
perpetual.
They just don't have the technology. There's a word I'm looking for.
Prehistoric.
Anyway, and these kids are like, oh, you're a savior and stuff like that with the story. And Max is just like, no, there's nothing out there. Anyway, he tries to get stopped and believing. People want to leave to find this promised land. Promised land turns out to be this town that's like corrupt. So he goes over, finds these kids, and they go to the town anyway. And then all hell breaks loose. And then they run away on a train, Mad Max style. And then they actually fly away in a machine towards Sydney.
That was in depth. I
didn't really enjoy this.
Nah.
I thought it was a hit or miss one, and this is such a... I don't know if it's worse than the first one. I think it's ever so slightly better than the first one at bits, but fucking hell, it was funny actually. I thought of this, and I was reading through like some of the reviews, like, why is this a good film? Why has it got 79% Rotten Tomatoes? Why is Roger Ebert giving it 4 out of 4? And I was just like... Anyway, I went down, I was just thinking, this is basically like Mad Max, like a tier Mad Max, that meets Peter Pan halfway through the film.
Yep.
And then it goes off like some sort of train that tries to recreate the second one. I was just like, what am I watching? Anyway, it said one of the reviews was like, they even said like Tomorrowland, which is like Neverland, isn't it?
Yep.
And it's just like, what the fuck am I watching?
Yep.
And it feels like a PG version of Mad Max. And I was surprised to see that the arrow go through that guy's leg in the train part at the end. Because I was like, well, I thought they wouldn't show it because he's trying to dumb down the whole fucking series. What the fuck?
So weird to see them just take everything, like Mad Max 2 ramped everything up, and even Mad Max, like there's the like we were dealing with people who were going around raping people, and we're dealing with people who were going around killing everybody at every twist and turn. Mad Max 2, you were lucky to survive that film, and then here there is just no consequences.
It's just so
for anybody.
Silly. It's so silly.
Yep, it's really silly.
I'm disappointed.
There's bits of it right. I had the same sort of thought. Is it better than the first one? Is it worse than the first one? And I think it's better than the first one. And it's because there are bits which are great. The world building, is pretty good.
I like the concept of society, like the underground and the overground.
The whole of Barter Town's really interesting.
That's it, Barter Town, yeah. I even like the idea of the Thunderdome. How did you see them go off?
Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
All right. Sorry. Even the concept of the Thunderdome, where it's like people fight, it's a bit, like gladiators, like Roman times.
Yep.
Um,
And like for all its silly over the top campiness, it's an interesting, unique way of doing a fight. Putting people on these wires and having them kind of like do fly around, sort of silly over the top stuff. What was that?
I was going to say the word I was looking for back then to describe like the society, especially kids. Primitive. Word. Go on.
So, and there's parts of its sort of over the top, campy 80s nature that really work. And then there's loads of stuff that doesn't, mixed in with the dumbing down of the franchise. And for some reason, making it family friendly. But not quite. Because it still isn't a family friendly film. But halfway, there's this distinct point in the film where it gets split in two. You have all the stuff in Bartertown at the beginning.
But yeah, I thought it was all right. It's quite promising. It wasn't as
it's
good,
all right.
Promising.
Agreed. There's some weird stuff like Tina Turner can't act for shit. She can't. And the guy who plays Master can barely act as well, unfortunately. But then there's that halfway point where Max gets exiled. And then it's like,
what's he
all right,
to?
tell you what, let's do a different film for a while.
At that point, I'm not going to lie, I was sat back on my sofa and I was on my phone trying to look at mine. You know what I was saying about Mad Max? And I just kind of zoned out and I didn't find it interesting. I started doing that with this. When the kids had started singing and chanting and all this, I was just like, why they dedicated a good half hour to like this part of the build up of the kids and what they stand for? And Max like trying to get them to go. The walk to Bartertown. Why they spend like half an hour, if not longer, doing that? Because it's such a waste of
screen time?
Yeah, screen time, real estate in the Mad Max franchise. Why?
It's nonsense. It's unfortunately
silly.
It's absolutely nonsense. Like the film at first wants to be about Bartertown, and then actually scrap that. At first, the film wants to be about him meeting the Sky Captain again, or the Gyro Captain as he was called.
Yeah, but I don't understand. It's a completely different guy, isn't it?
No, same guy.
Is it the same guy? But why has he got a different attitude? It's like, I'm sure the guy is just like, because I thought he looked similar, right?
Yep.
So it turns out the same guy. But then I was thinking, why does Max not really fully recognize? Oh, no, mate, you're all right, sort of thing.
Yeah, there's that one bit where he sees him, and right at the end,
you.
He goes, you.
But but I was thinking, he's recognised him because that's the part, and I thought, I'm sure it's the same guy.
Yep.
But then it's just like,
but also he's introduced in like the first scene, and then he fucks off for the entire film, and then he comes up right at the end.
And what happened to his caravan that he led them all the way to the safety net at the end of Mad Max 2?
Yep, exactly. Why didn't they have stuff to talk about? Wasn't it said at the end of Mad Max 2 that they never saw him again?
Like, Isn't that
what Richard said at the end?
Yeah. Richard.
So this is just a It
feels like
a mess of a film, and it kind of is. Do you know the story behind it? So this is a bit of a mess of a film, and there is a little bit of a reason why. Right at the end of this film, it comes up with a little message saying for Byron.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And I thought that's odd. Like, who's Byron? So it turns out Byron was the producer on the other two Mad Max films, and while searching for locations for this film, he died in a helicopter accident.
Jesus.
So George Miller didn't want to continue the film, and he was very much like, I don't feel right doing this anymore. This doesn't seem like
it was directed by two people.
Yeah. So eventually, he brought someone else on who is
George Ogilvy.
Nailed it. To help direct the film, and it sounds to me like George Miller only had a cursory sort of involvement in this, and a lot of it was the other fella. And you can kind of see it. You can kind of see where there's this split in the narrative. But supposedly George Miller had already written the script that involved the kids before making this. So he'd already written that weird nonsense with the kids, but he intended it to be a completely separate film.
Oh,
he didn't write it as a Mad Max film.
Yeah.
And then eventually he went, actually, the guy that stumbles across this weird sort of primitive group of children, that should be Mad Max. And like fleshed out from there. Which one, that's cart leading the horse. But then two, to have this big thing impact you, where like you kind of, one, you don't want to make the film anymore. But two, you're making a film which normally deals with like horrible themes of rape and murder. Maybe you don't want to feel like killing people in your film because your friend has just died. And like that leads to you really watering down a film and a franchise which really doesn't need it, because that's kind of what Mad Max was.
Yeah. I feel like as well, that it didn't help with his opinion. I'm not saying it was bad, but it didn't help. Is at the start of the film, the music comes in. I'm like, I'm fucking getting into it. I'm like, yeah, the music, this is class. I'm
Starts so good, doesn't it?
yeah, I know. But then, like, if you look towards when they're going to Barstown, the kids, and they're having that fight where they're pushing the guys into the pig shit and all that. And then the music becomes almost something like Peter Pan. It looks something like the Goonies.
Almost
or something
Indiana
like that.
Jones, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, what has this come to?
Yep, yeah, and then you've also got those kind of weird. But you're right. In the beginning, it's almost like kind of 80s, but it rides the line of being jazz, and it's a little bit enjoyable.
Oh, when she's in there, yeah, play the thing and stuff like that.
But then it starts to go over the line and become silly 80s. And then by the end, it's like almost John Williams. Everyone's gonna get out of here, okay? Music. This is weird. This film is weird.
I feel like, is this something I'd turn off?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Actually, like halfway through this, when like you were saying that, when you get to the kids, I was like, I am out.
Yeah,
Like, I'm done with this. The first film was pretty terrible. The second film was great, and it really started to introduce elements which were unique, and it started to
Second film was
introduce like
awesome.
thematically. It's that second film was basically a western, but with like loads of makeup on top to pretend it's not. But then weirdly, this one becomes aesthetically more like a western, but thematically throws all that shit away, and instead becomes somewhere halfway between like a mythological epic and a Spielberg film. And you just think, what the hell happened? Like, what were you trying to do with this film? I want to know what the thought process was.
I think it is what you said, where the directors not wanting to do it and trying to salvage something that could not be salvaged.
Yeah, and it almost feels like. Do you think when they were shooting that climax at the end, at any point on set were they like, "Fuck, this is a bit similar to last time, wasn't it?" Because it's just a watered down version, but it's not.
That's a really good way to water down version of Mad Max 2 without all the interesting stuff of Mad Max 2, just besides the costume design. And even then, right? I'm sorry, I know it's costume design, but in the first one they had like all these rad things, but in this one, everyone just seems to be wearing like boiled leather.
Yeah. So that stood out to me a bit as well. Actually, when you goes into town, okay, you're on a larger scale, you're on a larger budget,
It all seems to be
and
like
you can't make
bondage
everybody
leather and
unique.
stuff.
But in that second one, sorry, I keep wanting to say the first one because it feels like a first
Yeah.
one. In Road Warrior, everyone felt like they had their own characteristics, their own style.
They did. Everyone, yeah, exactly. Everyone had their own style. Like, like in Fallout, the Raiders, like some have like massive Raider armor, some have leather ammo comparison and stuff like that.
And it was like here, everyone was the bandits who were outside of the village in Road Warrior.
Yeah.
It was like everyone was just dressing like them.
It was, well, yeah, partially, but even then, everyone's just the same, and all the others just these weird haircuts, and we're just wearing leather for the sake of wearing
Mel
leather.
Gibson's mullet.
Yeah, what the fuck?
That stayed around for far too long.
Honestly, it reminded me of William Wallace. But it did.
So anyway, there is Mad Max 3 Beyond Thunderdome. We have got one more of these left.
Which I'm kind of glad about because it's a nice way to end this whole series because I liked it.
So I haven't seen it yet. This has been a roller coaster so far, and I'm hoping this puts us out on a high. Bless you. But if you want to let us know what you thought of Mad Max 3 Beyond Thunderdome, you can let us know in the comments below, or you can sneeze us up on Twitter. We'll be back once again next week where we're going to take a look at the final part of the Mad Max series for now. Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, actually, no, I read something today. I actually read something like a couple of hours ago where Miller, what's his name?
George Miller.
George Miller's actually putting his other Mad Max films on hold for the time being whilst he focuses on other projects.
There's legal problems, isn't there?
Is that what it is?
Yeah, apparently Warner Brothers owe him money.
Wow.
They're taking him to court.
So, we'll see you next week for potentially the last Mad Max.